here. But before I get into my opinion of the people that have been running the federal labor department, the part that's in charge of setting the minimum wage, okay, the federal minimum wage, for representing the federal minimum wage workers' interest, okay, those people, what I think about them, I would like to talk about a few other things. Now, there's a passage from Scripture talks about how fresh and bitter water do not come from the same stream, but yet out of the heart of men come these things. Like written in the book of James about the tongue. Though it's a tiny part of the body, it's a restless evil and it causes a lot of problems. And we're all guilty of it. It's as if we can't resist. We can't help but be a-holes sometimes. It starts in our hearts and then in our minds, and it manifests physically a lot of the time. I mean, this is why we're so self-destructive. I mean, something's bugging the hell out of us. And we got to remember that organically, we're effed up, okay? It's the original sin, the fall of man. We've got a sin nature, okay? And we don't like it. We don't like that aspect of ourselves, okay? And we don't like it when we see it in other people. We don't like it. And some people revel in it. They think it's the way to be. I mean, and we're all stuck here on this ship of fools having to contend with each other. It's a very gladiatorial existence. It's very tough being human. And we got to give each other a break. If we need slack, always remember to give slack. Be cool. Okay, try to be loving. And I'm speaking to the choir. I'm talking to myself too. I need to be reminded all the time. I'm no better, I'm no less human than anybody else. And we got to really practice, cultivate being nice human beings all the time and to ourselves. And try to think of ourselves the way God does. And remember, He's the only one that can know, love, and understand us the way we need to be known, loved, and understood. To have any semblance of peace of mind. To say, okay, you know what? I know the way to purify my own heart. I got to open it up to Him and say, God, cleanse it with your righteousness, because mine, the righteousness of men, as it's written, is like filthy rags to the Lord. Okay? We got to understand that God's ways and our ways are not the same thing a lot of the time. In fact, it's written that those things that are highly valued among men are often detestable inside of God. And what represents all those things? Money. It's like a false competing God. It's at enmity with God. Its interests are antithetical to God's interests. God wants us free. None of us are free. We're all under the bondage. The rich people, they're bought into it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, they're so insecure, and they're teaching people by example that the path is just amass great sums of money. That'll put that beaming smile on your face. That'll make you happy. Don't buy that goody two-shoes crap about non-materialism. That's just an excuse for losers. Oh, nobody's saying these things, but that's the inference. That's the spirit. That's the attitude. You want to be successful, and that has everything to do with money. And who doesn't understand it? God understands it. For any of us to say we don't love money, God's, you're a liar. Your heart's not pure. We all love money. It's a confession, because we got to hate it too. And look, oh my God, look at the havoc it has wreaked throughout history. I mean, it's no joke. I mean, it's not a good scene, man. It's really done a lot of harm. It's had a very pernicious, evil effect on our population for thousands of years. I mean, the murders, the homicides, there's no holds barred. These people will stop at nothing to have control of the money. There's that element, that caliber of people, that mentality. It's just they keep passing the torch. I don't know how they do it, but these are the conscienceless people. They don't value conscience. They'll sell their conscience for a loaf of bread. They'll sell their soul for $1 anytime. That's their God. You understand? They don't see the relevance of honoring and revering the one true God. They don't see the value in following these commandments. They think it's foolishness. And that's how it's written. I mean, these people are described. These are to those that are perishing. When you are looking for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you want the light in the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel somewhere, and you seek God and you seek to please Him, they're going to tell you You're stupid. You're a fool. You're an idiot. You're just a loser. That's why you need that crutch. I mean, we get it, right? We all get they are the pragmatic ones that are running the show, right? They decide the curriculum. I mean, this is what I want to find out. All these teachers that just go along with it and don't question. I mean, come on. It's your duty. You have an obligation. I mean, you don't just listen to somebody else says, well, this stuff is valuable. We want them to learn this, and we omit this stuff, and you just accept what the grand poobah of educational curriculum is. That's a cop out. No, no, no. You need to ask why there's no ethics taught to people, right and wrong. And we're not calling it religion. I mean, we're saying, no, this is the basis for all the laws of the land. All those laws, they could put you in jail. They could take all your stuff. They could take all your money. And you think that's not valuable information to learn K through 12 and all the way to the highest echelons of education? Ethics. The laws. If you don't follow the laws, and the laws are all supposed to be based on some ethical reason, right? So it's got to be some logical, moral reason. And you say, well, that's not religion. What are you talking about? If that's religion, then you understand the madness, the hypocrisy, the inconsistency. It's insanity that we follow and just accept this and somehow it all makes sense. No, it doesn't. See it through God's eyes. The society we could have would look entirely different if God was running the show, if we let God run the show and we just listened to him and did what he told us to do. Now these evil men running our lives. But it's the spirit with which we reach these people and reach other people. We've got to be nice. Do fresh and bitter water come from the same stream? No, they don't. Well, that's the stream of our words. And the words are dictated by what we're allowing to be harbored and cultivate in our hearts. It's inevitable that's going to come out our mouths and our behavior. And it's tough because it's like controlling demons, and only God can help us do that. But that's what we're up against because of our sin nature. It's always this schism that we're fighting. Our spirits want to soar with the eagles, but our carnal nature, the worldly nature, wants to drag us down into the gutter and exalt those in the gutter. Oh, those uber rich and famous, and they're just, and they don't, in the sight of God, they're in the gutter. Those things highly valued among men are detestable in the sight of God. How are they any different from some bum that's drunk and puked and peed his pants and rolling around in the gutter, literally? They're not in the side. Who are you? Is God impressed? He's not impressed by the drunk in the gutter any more than he is than that extravagant, wealthy person out there showing it off, thinking they got it going on, teaching the world by example. This is who you want to be, me, rich and famous. Somebody, I made it. You understand? God sees things a lot different. We need to take time out of our day every day and make it a very important part of our day. An imperative that we take time and just get our hearts and minds straight and say, God, I invite you in. Convict me if I'm wrong. I want to be right. Chasten me, discipline me, do what you need to do with me. But I just want to be right with you at the end of the day. And by extension, I want to be right with man. I mean, you hear people say, oh, who cares what so-and-so thinks about you? Everybody cares. That's nonsense. That's like saying you don't love money. Of course you love money for the obvious reasons that God understands you love money. It's your survival. It's the roof over your head. It's the food in your belly. On and on, right? It's your energy needs. It's everything. So he understands. He understands that we're weak and feeble and pathetic. And the best we could do is confess it. But yes, we've got a carnal nature, and we need to confess it. And, we try to run from stuff. So, I mean, God understands what drives us to these things, what's inducing us to want to metaphorically slash our wrists, sometimes literally, and seek these forms of escapism and vices and just all these issues that we have as human beings. God can help you understand that, and we need to. And we need to move on from here. We need to tune into him, what he wants, and see what a dramatic and profound change that is from what we have. For the better, though, for everybody. See, I'm not excluding anyone. I'm everybody's friend. You have the prerogative to be everybody's friend. We're in this thing together. We got to care about each other like our own selves. And we're all just passing through. This is a very insecure, wisp in time, relatively speaking, that we're experiencing. And I don't like that any better than the next guy. I don't like death, and that's good news to know. Like, you go to Scripture and the teachings of Christ, it's good news, man. This is the promise for being right in his sight and doing right and caring about other people and teaching the evildoers by example and saying, look, I'm not a phony. You could say that, you could think that, you could project that, but I'm real. I want change. I'm going to demand change, and you're going to have to accept these truths. But this system, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They want us to make sense of it because that's towing the line for them. That's ever buying, normalizing slavery to a greater and greater degree. This is where the Federal Labor Department comes in. I mean, utterly remiss. Who could say they're not? It's a simple mathematical equation called the Consumer Price Index for them to calculate the cost of living, go up or down. If it went down, we're lowering wages. It's a two-way street. That's capitalism. But it's a game they're not playing fair. It's like Monopoly. When you lose, you're out. But you're not only out, but you're living under the bridge. You understand? Literally and dying. So it's real life Monopoly, but it's horrific Monopoly. Nobody would ever agree to play if the odds were that. They don't want that bad things to happen to anybody, much less themselves. But that's the risk of playing that game. But we're not given the option of opting out of playing the game. We're all stuck in this realm, this money-based unreality. And it's got to go. We've got to change it entirely. We've got to get off every form of money. That could be done gradually with true capitalism. And the way that would happen would simply be that your money kept going up in worth. That's it, because of supply and demand. That we had always had it in excess of all the things we wanted and needed. And money obviously becomes irrelevant at that point. You understand? Automatically, organically, naturally, gradually, it just happened. That's what would happen. And that's what the evildoers are deathly afraid of, because that represents freedom for the slaves. We're all slaves from birth. You can't deny it. If you have to pay a cost of living, the cost of surviving, a cost of existence to these people, you're enslaved from birth. So that's a dramatic and profound sea change that God has coming for us. And we need to ready our hearts and minds and help other people ready their hearts and minds and point out these truths. And just help lift each other, encourage each other, strengthen each other, and comfort each other as best as we honestly can. Because we all have talents. And if we're just being honest with ourselves, we get it. We get this whole idea of living by the golden rule. It all makes sense. It's all reasonable. We're going to follow the laws of man, or we're going to follow the laws of God. It's much easier, much more simple, okay, to follow the laws of God. Okay? And I'm not saying you shouldn't follow the laws of man. All those laws that make sense, but we know there's so many nuanced laws. I mean, there's studies come out that say, well, we're all breaking the law an estimated X amount of times. I'm thinking, what? Really? I mean, I don't want to be a lawbreaker, but you can't help it. It's like Jesus explained, it's these people, you offend them, and you're walking on these whitewashed tombs and you didn't even know it. But, oh, how dare you? You offended me by what you said or what you asked me. How dare you? I'll kill you. I'll murder you for saying. And that's how it is. It's that same spirit today, right? A lot of people project. They can't imagine somebody better than themselves, so they're deluded. They're self-deluded, deceived, but they know they're with, now they've got a caliber, they've got a certain group, right, a clique that they're a part of, that they say, I'm not alone. I know there's other people. Yeah, we're on top. We got it going on. We got the power. We got the money. Okay, we're the ones that got it going on. So I know where you're coming. You're jealous. You're jealous of me. That's what it is. You see, nobody's saying these things, but that's the hidden, the invisible inference happening on a subliminal level, right? We all know it's just, there's all this crap going on that it's unspoken, but we all know it exists. being the yes man, how we can all do that. We can all be suck ups. I would even recommend it sometimes. I mean, I do it just naturally, just acting overly respectful, calling guys sir, and they call me dumbass. I don't know, whatever. But you understand, we're all fallible. We're all just human, and we need to be there for other people. And it's not always easy. We might have all sorts of personal problems and other problems going on in our lives. And then we talk to somebody else that's got all these complaints, and we're listening, and we're thinking, well, that those complaints don't hold a candle to mine. But yet our job as being, enlightened, okay, if you're, God's friend, then your job is to kind of put yours on the back burner and let God take care of yours issues while you reach out to them and try to encourage them and comfort them in the way that you're able to. Okay, we're trying to win friends. God's after friends. Our values need to be